So Ron, we're back on the road.
We are, and it's hot.
It is very hot out here in North Nevada, South Utah, wherever the heck we are.
Edge of the Mojave is what I read.
I think so. So I want to talk to you about something in security testing I've always wondered about, static versus dynamic. So I've heard the terms SCA, static code analysis, and DAST, dynamic application security tools. I want to know what the difference between static and dynamic is. What makes it static? What makes it dynamic? What are the tools? How does all this work? Because I think I know, but educate us.
Well, even if you think you know, you may not. When you start seeing these deployed within organizations, it's one of the hardest things is trying to help developers understand the differences between the two tools. They think if we've done one, we've done all the things, and we haven't. And usually when you start, you're going to start with a static tool. And SCA, static code analysis, it is just that. So when we think static code, think of it as it's living in my IDE, or it's the source code, or I've compiled it and now it's a binary, it's an exe, it's a jar file, it's something of that nature. But it's just the code itself. Either I'm going to reflect the code out with a reflector if I have a binary, but it's better if I have the source code. So I can scan that code, look for the different functions, libraries, whatever is being used, methods, to generate your code there, and see if there's vulnerabilities in that, to make sure you're not doing something that allows you to have things persistent in memory or things of that nature. So
question, you said static, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's the code itself. It could be compiled already.
Sure.
But it's really the developer's environment that you're talking about. It's not a production environment.
Correct. And when you say it's developer's environment, it means it hasn't been deployed to a server of any type.
Got it. Okay, got it. So it's really the developer checking their own thing.
Kind of, yes.
Okay. So dynamic.
So now we've deployed it to an environment. So we'll just keep this really simple. We'll talk web apps. So you're building a web application, you've written the code, now we put it on the web server. So now the application is running on a web server. So this is where it can get kind of crazy, because now we're testing the app as deployed, and there may be issues that pop up that are not related to your app, but are related to the infrastructure of how the application is deployed. And that's why dynamic tools are important, because they're going to look at all that type of stuff.
Well, okay. So if I'm just getting started, do I do both of these at the same time? Do I start on these? Is it different groups doing it, or is it all developers doing it?
The answer is yes to all those things. No, in reality, yes, you want to do all of them. But where most organizations start is a static tool. And once we have static embedded in our software development lifecycle, they know that when I'm building this code, when I'm developing this code, I have to run a static scan against it. Then most organizations are going to employ a dynamic tool to then scan it as it's deployed to an environment. And your more mature companies are going to take you'll hear this term called a shift left approach, where this is all has some automation wrapped around it and that type of stuff.
Go back to this when you're actually start doing this. So would you say that there's different personas that use static versus dynamic, or is it all developers, or is it a security team that does it, or is it all of the above?
It is kind of all of the above. You are going to see generally the static code are going to be the developers. But one of the things that's really unique in the security field is you're going to have an auditor. So there's going to be an auditor role somewhere, and the auditor is the one that's going to, the developer may initiate the scan runs. When the scan is complete, usually there's going to be a process where the developers say, this isn't real, this is a false positive, something of that nature. The auditor is going to be the person who says, no, this is real. And from there, this starts getting into management, deciding, is this a business risk enough where we want to dedicate time to fixing it, things of that nature.
Okay. So let's say that we're doing this, we're doing SCA and we're doing DAST. How does Saltworks help with that?
Well, first of all, we have experts in the static space, we have experts in the dynamic space, people who are familiar with the tools, they're familiar with the processes, the methodologies, also who are auditors. We even have individuals who augment many companies internally as auditors and auditor roles, because they may have people there who have the skill sets to run the scans, but not the people who can validate that these false positives are truly false positives, or vice versa, that these issues that look like they're negatives are not negatives. So you really need that auditor role to say this is really a thing, and then it's up to the business to figure out risk.
Cool. Thanks for that. I'm clarified now.
Glad I could help.